So, compound sentences, some examples from my life. Where I've changed that story now, my alarm went off at 6:30, so I got up. I went downstairs and made a cup of tea. I made some porridge, then I cleaned my teeth. I got into the car and I came to work. All compound sentences made up of two simple sentences joined together with a conjunction, like so, and, then, and. So the conjunctions stuck together, simple sentences to make them a little bit more sophisticated. And then of course that still could do with a little bit of additional sophistication. So we're going to add to that complex sentences. So you've already looked at simple, you've looked at compound, and now you've got the complex. And hopefully you can remember some of the stuff we did there. A complex sentence will be made up of a main clause, which can stand up on its own, and a subordinate clause, which needs to lean on the main clause, which can't work on its own. So the main clause is like a simple sentence, and it will make sense on its own. Now the subordinate clause is there to add extra information, so it will not be able to make sense on its own. So I'm going to just talk through some of this. The subordinate clause could be anywhere in the sentence. It could come at the beginning. So something like this: when he handed in his homework, he forgot to give his teacher the last page. So he forgot to give his teacher the last page when he handed in his homework. When he handed in his homework is a clause on its own, but it will not last as a sentence on its own. It doesn't work on its own. The sentence, he forgot to give his teacher the last page, is a simple sentence which will last on its own. But the first bit in pink, the subordinate clause, will not be able to stand up without being propped up. So you could put that subordinate clause in the middle. So he handed in his homework, which was missing the last page, to his teacher. So the subordinate clause, which was missing the last page and will not last on its own, has been wedged into the middle to give extra information. The actual sentence that could stand on its own, the clause that could stand on its own, is he handed in his homework to his teacher. And you could put it at the end of the sentence. So he handed in his homework, although he forgot to give in the last page. So you can put in that subordinate clause at the end of the sentence. And again, the subordinate clause will not stand on its own. Although he forgot to give in the last page, you wouldn't put that on its own. But he handed in his homework would. Examples from my life of complex sentences. We'll just move it along there. Yep. My alarm went off at 6:30, waking me from a deep sleep. So I got up. After staggering around for a while, I went downstairs and made a cup of tea. I made some porridge, which woke me up a bit. Then I cleaned my teeth. I got into the car, still feeling tired, and I came to work. All complex sentences. So using those subordinate clauses, which if you bother to look through it, you can identify the subordinate clause which won't work on its own. And that's my example of that. Now, of course, once you've got to practice that, you can try it yourself with anything you want to do. Just try and make things more complicated. Start with something really simple. Try and make it as childish as you want and add information. Play with it. But the basis of it are those three types of sentence. And the reason to use a variation of those is to make your writing more interesting, more sophisticated, and to sound more intelligent, I suppose. So you wouldn't try and use just one type of those sentences all the way through your writing. You'll try and vary them, dot them in here and there. And that's to make your writing interesting, to make your writing more sophisticated.